when we first started this, it was like, well, we're going to do a full year of episodes. Like we're just doing it. We just made a commitment. We're going to do a full year of episodes and then reevaluate. And as we were doing some of that with Nikki Dutton, with the More Network, who's kind of been, honestly, Nikki is the reason why this worked, because she was just like, hey, like where's my podcast?
Yeah.
Like, you guys owe me a podcast.
Get on it.
And it's like,
Get on it, dummies.
Okay, Nikki. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, fair, like we will deliver a podcast, it was like, that was the deal. You signed up for 52 podcasts, show me the podcast. And we paid Nikki to basically be our podcast trainer, right?
Yeah.
Like, like show up and do the work, right?
Yeah.
And it was so valuable to make that investment because it was this layer of accountability and layer of quality that I think that we would just not have been able to maintain if we didn't have someone there pushing us along and encouraging us and equipping us and supporting us with all of the kind of the back end details. And all that to say, I think that the time horizon is a really important, like, a layer for thinking about it, because I would love to see, I'm just going to be really interested to see where we are this time next year, right? December, January, 2025, 2026, a year from now. What will have changed? How will things have grown and developed? There's some things that are going to happen that we can't foresee, good, bad, and ugly. And I think that will really shape the sort of product, so to speak, that we're creating. And I think right now, like, we have our kind of back end team a little bit more set and solidified in a way that we didn't right on the front end for the first 6 months, especially when we were just figuring out, like, how do you even turn the camera on, and like, how do you press record on this thing, right? And
yeah. Yep, I remember.
Like, I literally recorded episode 4 without video. Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
How did I do that?
I mean, I was going to pivot and say, okay, hey, give me top 2, 3, 4 highlights of the year.
Well, definitely going viral on Instagram with like our third post was like super fun.
Yeah, they really suckered us in.
Yeah, that, like, we basically got about 6,500 likes and follows, or 6,500 followers out of that one post, which just made for a really interesting conversation with like friends and family, because I'd be like, yeah, follow us on Instagram. And they'd be like, did you buy all these followers? And they'd be like, no, I don't know what happened. Like, that video just did well. And that to me is just really funny. Like, how we basically got, like, I don't know, about 8,000 followers out of the year on Instagram, but then we kind of like didn't get more. So like, it was like this massive blow up, and then it kind of tapered down slowly, and then it just didn't grow at all. And I just think that's really fascinating to me, how, like, what you just can't control some of those things. You can't control the algorithm. You can't control what people like or don't like. You just have to be authentic, and you just have to make something. And so I think, like, experiencing that, like, kind of that like peak and drop was actually a really good thing for us to experience on the front end, because it was this little hit of adrenaline of like, oh wow, this is interesting. Like, this is like, I was getting something out of it right away. But then I had to wrestle with the fact that, like, oh, like, this isn't going to continue. Like, I thought this was how this was gonna, like, I got used to that. It was cool.
We're going to be at 100,000 tomorrow.
Yeah. We were like, oh, we'll be at like 25,000 followers at this time. Like, if we can, it was just total conjecture. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think, I big fan of that part of it. And also just getting to interview people who are wicked smart. Like, I go back to like Josiah Gono was like episode, 2 or 3 maybe. And that was just so much fun to have the opportunity to sit down with someone who's as studied and as excellent as him. And then just, person after person, getting to learn from who they are and what they know and the experiences that they've had, and to have the opportunity to share that with anyone who's listening is just super fulfilling to me. So definitely have loved like the kind of the algorithm, social media dynamic of things and learning about that. I've loved sitting down and just learning from subject matter experts and people who are out in the wild doing leadership. And then I think that you and I have had a lot of fun. Like I think that we knew we would be good together as a team. Um, but this has definitely been a different environment for us to like try to perform together in. And so I look forward to the day where we can go back to live and we can figure out kind of how we're going to niche our conversations down a little bit, because I feel like we've been about a mile wide
Mm,
this season. And I would love like season 2, season 3 to kind of, just focus us in a little bit more on like what do Brad and Taylor uniquely bring to the conversation about leadership. And I
mm.
just don't think we're there yet. Like I think we just probably need another 50, 100 episodes before we're like, okay, yeah, this is the conversation we want to have. So yeah, I would flip it back to you and ask you the same. Like, what are some? That was 3 for me. So maybe give me 2 or 3 on your end.
Yeah, you did well, Ben. I think those are all great things. Yes, we did have great leaders.
Ricola.
Wow, there you are. Yeah, scratchy throat, man.
Yeah.
End of the day. Um, yeah, great people, great experience. It has been a good year. Learned a ton. Some of my highlights, Brastrophes or Brad catastrophes. There are a
Yeah.
couple highlights there,
Can we
that I
just
like.
knock my water over right now over my computer?
Yeah. I mean, I just the learning process was fun. Like, hey, we forgot to record the video. All right, that's funny.
Whoops.
Or Robot Brad with Natalie Bourne. That was really fun. Just
Yes.
having
Oh, she was
like
fun. She was fun.
I just like it was just playful and it was fun. We had a lot, tech issues that we're working through and all kinds of stuff. I mean, really just figuring out being playful. I think that all those things were really good. Um, I liked our guests. I thought that was like what a unique experience to have the amount of CEOs, business owners, young entrepreneurs on the show, to learn from them, to hear about their experience, to pick their brain. I think that that's all good. I think the slow burn came out of that, which was a fun segment that we tried this year that people seem to like, which actually goes all the way back to, episode 1, which is still one of my highlights is, you putting me on the hot seat and then us just going and really having no idea what's going on. So I'm going to group that all into number 2.
Well, I
Um,
had an idea. I mean, I spent a lot of time preparing that. I just didn't tell you anything. So, and this is the perfect example of like the differences between you and I and how we approach certain things. Because you walked into that episode like with zero prep, just ready to talk. And meanwhile, I had prepped for probably like 2 or 3 hours on precisely what questions I was going to ask and where the conversation was going to go. And then we didn't talk about it before hitting record.
no,
So I was just like, here we go.
yeah,
And
which is to a certain extent is still a little bit. I mean, I prep more now, and I think we've had a good, healthy tension in that of prep versus where does the conversation go,
yeah,
scripted questions versus what if we go off into a spot that we never thought, that we were going to be in. What if we don't get to ask some of the questions that we're super excited about because we get into something else?
yep,
And you've made me read books and read up on people and learn who people are and do all these kind of which is great, it just yeah, I've learned a ton. I've learned a ton about those people. I've learned a ton from you. And we've had so many guests say, hey, you guys have done a great job really preparing, like go on a lot of podcasts and you guys do great. So um yeah, there's a different dynamic there. And then I agree. I don't like to affirm you, but I will affirm you. It has been a fun year. I think that in that you've done a great job. It's been fun to see the people that you've brought on and the relationships that you have. And yeah, I mean, honestly, the highlight in that too is just we have a podcast.
yeah, it's kind of cool.
Like I don't really know how to say it other than that of like, oh, we have a podcast that people sometimes listen to. Like if you would have told me at the beginning of the year, hey, you're gonna have a few hundred subscribers, I'd be like, yeah, you're my expectations got thrown off because mostly just like Instagram started so well. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it's not that I think that it's a failure now. It's if you would have told me day one, hey, you got a few hundred people on YouTube, you got some Instagram followers, you've got some people on TikTok, and you actually got people listening on, Spotify and Apple Podcasts and, iHeartRadio, whoever they are.
Yeah.
Um,
We love you, iHeartRadio. Please
yeah,
stay.
I
Please
would have
don't
been like,
go.
yeah, I would have been like, no, like who's going to listen to us? And I still
Right.
sometimes wonder who's going to listen to us, but people, tell me all the time. Not all the time, but on occasion, I guess. Hey, I love, hearing about, tiny fires inside your house, for Ellery May. I'm like, wait, you listen to me blabber about my wife's candle company and like you listen to
Yeah.
our podcast? Yeah, we like it. So, anyways, some of my highlights. Long-winded answer.